Case for Austria and Altmann, a presentation by Anushka Goswami and Regan Kober.
The plaintiff in this case is Maria Altmann, and the defendant is the state of Austria. Maria Altmann's uncle's art pieces had been seized by the Nazis or expropriated by Austria after World War II. When she found out about this, she sued in the U.S. District Court under the FSIA, claiming that she is the rightful owner of the art pieces and that Austria's actions constitute a violation of property rights in accordance with international law. Austria claims that the FSIA does not apply retroactively to its actions in 1948 to deny it sovereign immunity because the FSIA was not enacted until 1976 and because the U.S. adopted a classical approach to sovereign immunity until 1952. The U.S. District Court sided with Altmann and a U.S. Court of Appeal affirmed. The nature of this case does not involve whether Altmann has rightful ownership to her uncle's paintings or that Austria has violated her property rights. The nature of this case involves whether the U.S. court has the right to jurisdiction over this matter in accordance with the FSIA.
Legal concepts and mechanisms. Derived from the British common law doctrine, the sovereign immunity refers to the doctrine whereby the government of a sovereign nation cannot be sued in another nation's court without its consent. The sovereign immunity doctrine is a principle of customary international law which can be applied in a classical or restrictive view. The classical view argues for a foreign state to maintain an absolute immunity from jurisdiction, whereas the restrictive view abandons absolute immunity and recognizes only public acts and not private acts. The Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act is a United States law codified at Title 28 of the United States Code. The Act establishes limitations on sovereign immunity in the United States. The jurisdictional statute establishes the conditions that must be met for a lawsuit to be instituted against a foreign state in American courts. In Austria and Altmann, the legal question at hand was, does the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act apply to claims that occurred before the Act's enactment and before the United States adopted a restrictive theory of sovereign immunity in 1952?
The majority opinion of the court ruled that the FSIA does apply retroactively both before 1976 and before the restrictive theory was adopted in the U.S. They cited various cases to prove their point. They revealed that foreign sovereign immunity is based on grace and is not a constitutional requirement. They said that although the court has a history of deferring sovereign immunity decisions to the executive, the FSIA codifies the restrictive theory and it transfers sovereign immunity decisions to the judiciary. As such, any case brought forth against a foreign sovereign must be subject to the action of the courts, and foreign sovereign immunity is applicable unless one of the exceptions of the FSIA applies. The majority opinion also held that U.S. statutes do not have to have an explicit expression of retroactive application, but there is a requirement of intent for them to apply retroactively, which is present in the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act.
In his dissent opinion, Justin Kennedy, joined by Justin Rehnquist and Justin Thomas, wrote that the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act must not be applied retroactively. The statute does not, in a clear statement, specify the application of Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act in a retroactive manner. Furthermore, Justin Kennedy wrote, "A general rule of the United States Supreme Court is not to apply a statute if its application will impose a retroactive effect on litigants as announced in the Landgraf case. The use of the word henceforth in the statute implies no more than the principles immediately apply from the point of the Act's effective date." In Austria and Altmann, the United States Supreme Court ruled for the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act to be applied retroactively. The reasoning was described as, when writing the Act, the United States Congress put forward strong indications within the text of the statute for the text to be applied in a retroactive manner during the application in future cases. Justice Stevens further wrote that the use of the language henceforth in the statute suggests that Congress intended courts to resolve all such claims in conformity with the principles set forth. The Austrian Altmann ruling set precedents in sovereign immunity jurisprudence, allowing for the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act to be applied retroactively in the United States. Ms. Altmann was able to retrieve her uncle's paintings from the Austrian Museum, and the ruling further established a retroactive application of the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act for cases in the United States Supreme Court.